All right, we're off and rolling. Justin Kinner, Kev Nash, live here on Dayton's ESPN radio station, 1410 Wing AM. Obviously, we've talked a little bit of Bengals today. We've talked some NFL. We're going to continue that and we're going to kind of transition into some Buckeye talk as well with the guy that can basically cover it all for us. Dayton's own Nick Mangold, former Buckeye, NFL veteran, of course, and we're excited to have him on with us. Nick, welcome, sir. How are you?
Good. How you guys doing?
Good.
Not bad, not bad. First of all, again, just right off the bat, congratulations. This upcoming fall, you'll be one of many inducted into the Ohio State Hall of Fame. How exciting is that for you? And when you got that news, what was your initial reaction?
Well, it's very exciting, and something very special. I grew up watching the Buckeyes, and rooting for them, and so to be able to play for Ohio State, and then now being in the Ohio State Hall of Fame. Something really special. Pretty excited about it.
How many of your former teammates you still keep in touch with at Ohio State? I mean, you've played the game for so long, obviously dominant at every level, but who are some guys from back at Ohio State that you're still close with to this day?
Not as many as I should be. I blame my kids for that, but AJ Hawk is a big one. We obviously grew up together in Centerville, and then lived together over Ohio State, so I still stay in touch with him. Bobby Carpenter is another big one. Love Bobby. And so there's a handful of guys that I try to keep up with as best I can. But, being stuck in New Jersey, there's not too many of the former Buckeye guys there. So it makes it a little difficult to do the long distance thing.
Yeah, you're living in New Jersey now. Some of your former teammates are into coaching. Is that something you're into in New Jersey?
No, not really. I would love to. I struggle. The NFL, I don't want to get into NFL coaching because there's no loyalty there. College coaching is difficult because I don't want to do recruiting. So I think maybe if I do get into coaching, which I enjoy discussing the game and being with the young people, I think high school would probably be my limit. But I haven't pursued it yet. Still, my kids are still pretty little. And so I want to enjoy the time with them.
Yeah, you talked about the college situation. It's obviously totally different from when you played at Ohio State with the NIL thing. What's your thoughts on NIL?
I love it for the players. I think it's got to be crazy difficult for the coaches. It's a whole new landscape. You have to learn new things and try to figure out new ways to get guys to come and then not only get guys to come, but then retain them. So it's got to be crazy difficult, and I think that's one of the big things that pushes me away from it because I just don't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
Nick, a little bit ago you mentioned AJ Hawk. You see the work he does, obviously with the Pat McAfee show. What do you see that's kind of what keeping him busy, in his post-playing days. What are you up to these days? You interested in media? What are some of the things that keep you busy outside of being a father and your kids keeping you on your toes?
Yeah, I mean, other than the kids keeping me on my toes, I have a barbecue sauce, which I'm pretty proud of, that we're trying to get out and get everywhere. 74 barbecue. It's kind of a passion project for me, but otherwise, I dabble in a bunch of different little things. Nothing too serious. Like you said, the kids are the main focus. So I'm stuck to the school calendar, which is kind of neat. When you go from being a kid where you're always looking forward to like Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, Easter break, and then summer, and then you get away from it and you go on and live your life as a real adult. But then now being able to get back into it, I'm like a big kid again. Like I look forward to the start of the school year, like, ooh, what new things does school have to bring? And then at that point I'm like, all right, when's Thanksgiving getting here? And so it's just getting back into that routine. So I'm enjoying that. And that it's pretty fun.
Real quick on Ohio State, real quick before we move on over to the NFL. Ryan Day. Ryan Day has done a fantastic job since taking over in those very tough circumstances and the handoff between him and Urban. All he does is win. People focus on the 6 losses. There's some important losses in there, and I get that. Where are you at with Ryan Day with some of the strange criticism that's coming his way? I mean, he gets to the college football playoff. I mean, is just a slightly average defense away from getting to the championship where they probably beat on TCU the way Georgia did. All the criticism, I know if you've played in this rivalry, Ohio State, Michigan, it means absolutely everything. We say that, but it sounds like it does. Does it mean more than success to where you're winning, over 90% of your games and you're getting to the playoffs? I mean, what is your take on the job that Ryan Day has done, and is the criticism fair in your opinion?
Yeah, I think he's done a great job, and you always love to have a winning program and being in the spotlight and being in the playoffs and contention all the time. But I think Ohio State has become, the rivalry and what Ohio State has become are so huge that they now go hand in hand. So not only do you have to win a bunch of games, and you need to be in the college playoff talk, and you need to be at the forefront of all college football discussions, but you also have to win, and having back-to-back losses is tough. And I know, for me as a former player and as a fan, you look forward to those bragging rights, and we've had such a great run for so long of just utter dominance, and now having to deal with back-to-back losses in the game is difficult. And so I think it's good for the rivalry in general that Michigan gets back to, a little bit to where they were. But at the same time, as a Buckeye, I want to see them dominated over and over again. And so I think having those two losses on your resume is tricky. And, it's going to be this game coming up against that team up north is probably going to be his biggest game he's ever coached in, because I think this is a make or break year for that game.
I know I'm in the minority in this. Tell me if it's fair or foul. But there was a quote from Ryan Day, did an interview a couple months ago about which loss kept him up, which loss keeps him up at night more, the loss to Georgia or the loss to Michigan. And I was critical of when he said, the loss to Michigan keeps him up at night more. And I said, well, I get that. I get the rivalry. I'm not downplaying that. But you get one more stop. You make that field goal, just one more stop, whatever it is. You're playing in a national championship and winning one. To me, I feel like the correct answer should have been Georgia. That's the loss that cost you a title, not the loss to Michigan. Is that fair criticism on my end to point that out and say, hey, I think that we need to, yes, emphasize the importance of that rivalry, but that Georgia loss is what killed him more than that loss to Michigan. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think if they would have beaten Michigan and had a chance for the national championship, that would have eased some of the criticisms that have been going on. But in the end, I went 3-1 against Michigan, and I still lose sleep over my sophomore year losing Michigan at Ann Arbor. So I get it, I understand it, and that's part of what the rivalry is, what it is, and I think that's what makes it so special in the grand scheme of college football, is how important it is not only to the players and the coaches and the staff and everyone at Ohio State University, but the fans and to the state of Ohio.
Nick, I talk about this on the air all the time, that we as a fan base, we're spoiled from the things that you guys accomplished, because you and I are old enough to remember when Timbiaka Batuka basically got drafted by the game that he put up against the Buckeyes. So, it began with Tressel, and obviously your run there, that you talked about the dominance that Ohio State has had over Michigan. So this quote unquote blip that we have on the radar, like, people are truly losing their minds, but I don't think they really know what it is to be watching the Buckeyes about to play for a national championship, North taking it away from us. So I never take the game for granted, and I think that a lot of the fan base does at this point. They just think it's our right to beat them. Like, they come to play too.
Exactly, and I think that's where maybe we've gotten a little complacent in the fact that there has been just the utter domination that we've had for the past 20 years. And you kind of forget, and I'm not putting Coach Day in this category, and I would never do that. But you forget the John Cooper years. When you were sitting there and you would have this amazing NFL talent and you have these great teams, but not being able to beat Michigan is what did Coach Cooper in. And so that's there's a lot of people that don't remember that and don't have forgotten it, and that's where it gets difficult, because there were hard times where it was like where you would be losing to Michigan, but at the same time, I think for the whole purpose of the rivalry, I think it is good to have a little back and forth. But I really have enjoyed the dominance that we've had for the past 20 years.
Me too.
Yeah, like we all do. Nick Mangold with us here, hanging out, Kinder and Cap 1410 ESPN Radio, Dayton's radio home of the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's transition over to the NFL. Lots being made right now as far as Hard Knocks. The Jets announced as the team that will be represented on Hard Knocks this upcoming offseason, which camp's officially about to get underway, which is just absolutely wild. But you have a lot of familiarity, yes, with the Jets, but with Hard Knocks as well. A lot's been made about Aaron Rodgers coming out talking about the potential distraction that it could be. A lot of teams are pushing back against it. Take us behind the curtain a little bit. Like I remember the season that you were on there. I remember watching those. What's wild about it is we see just a very small percentage of what's actually filmed. When they talk about it being a distraction, is it a distraction? Do you notice a big difference when Hard Knocks is there filming versus a season when they're not?
So there's so many cameras around, and the Jets do their own production. One Jets Drive, which is a Hard Knock style show. So there's always cameras around anyway. So I think the distraction side of it, I will be very minimal, because you get very used to it, and you're just once you're in it and you get past the excitement, like the Hard Knocks. I think where it gets into the distraction is when I think it airs on Tuesdays. So then, Wednesday morning, you're all showing up for breakfast before meetings and everything, and you're talking about the last night's episode where maybe there was something going on that you had no idea about. And so I think that's where some of the distractions come in. But overall, I think it's a positive experience. I know I enjoyed when we had it. Like you said, it's only a snippet of what really goes on in training camp. They take 6 days worth of all the film that they get, and multiple cameras and everything, and they chop it up to a 60-minute show. The stuff that gets left on the cutting room floor, there you could make 15 other shows. So it's just kind of how the storylines go, and you get a feel for it. And so I don't think it's going to be that big of a distraction, as long as you don't let it become. If it becomes one of the things like, oh, I want to be featured on Hard Knocks, I want to be a storyline, so I'm going to go do this, or I'm going to be overly loud in practice, or something like that. That could also be a problem. But as long as you know what you're getting yourself into, and you just take it as an opportunity to be on one of the greatest stages during training camp, it can be a good time.
Nick Mangold with us here. And again, your thoughts, it's funny how history repeats itself a little bit. This whole thing with Aaron Rodgers going to the Jets. You were on the team when Brett Favre left the Packers and went to the Jets. Again, your thoughts when you started hearing rumblings that Aaron Rodgers to the Jets was a possibility. What was your initial takeaway?
I was pretty excited about it, although, I kind of lose my excuse. People are always like, oh, you should still be playing. I'm like, no, I'm too old, and, 39 years old. And then Aaron comes in and he's 39. I was like, there goes my excuse. But it's pretty neat. I think the biggest difference between this iteration of a Green Bay quarterback coming to the New York Jets, Aaron wanted to come and be a New York Jet. And he specifically said, I want to play for the New York Jets. And as a former player, that's pretty awesome, and you like to hear that. You Hall of Fame caliber quarterback coming in, and it says he wants to be under the spotlight of New York. You like that, Brett, and coming in before the offseason, being able to have springtime, mandatory minicamp, getting all that time in. Brett came to us middle of training camp. We were, I think, the day he was traded, we were playing in Cleveland a preseason game, so there wasn't a lot of lead up time, and you had that whole excitement period and everything going on while you're in training camp. I think that part has already passed for Aaron. And so I think it's a little bit different situation. But hopefully, Brett was great until he got hurt. And so hopefully Aaron stays healthy and we can have some pretty solid success. And, I think the excitement leading in, because today is Tuesday, the training camp opens tomorrow, Wednesday. So that excitement is there that, we could have a good team.
I hear you use the term "we" a lot with the Jets, so I guess you're still rocking with the Jets, Jets.
Yes, exactly. That's why we're still in New Jersey. I got loaded down there. I was able to, squeak out an 11-year career with the Jets, which is the longest I played for any team. And so that is something, very near and dear to my heart. The fact that I was able to play for one team in the NFL. I think that's pretty special in itself. So yeah, they hold a special spot in my heart as well.
Nice.
That was my next kind of follow up on that was, you spent your entire career with the Jets, as we just talked about. Was there, coming out of college, was there a team that you were kind of eyeing, a team that you were like, man, I would really like to go there? Not do you, I know you don't regret your time with the Jets, but was there at the time coming out for the draft, was there a team that you were kind of hoping that you would fall to or end up with that wasn't the Jets?
No, I was so naive and young and stupid and not paying attention to anything. We got done with my senior year and went through the Senior Bowl, the combine, and just going through the experience. I never even took the opportunity to look like, well, who needs a center? What team could have potentially grabbed me? So I really had no idea, nothing on the radar. I knew it was a kind of a crapshoot as it was. So I was along for the ride, and whoever was going to take me, I was going to go there and try to do the best that I could.
You grew up here in Ohio. Who was your team growing up? Who were you a fan of? Browns, Bengals? Who'd you have?
Bengals all the way.
Browns fan here, so hate to hear it. Go.
Well, I mean, listen, you're in Dayton. You're a Bengals fan. You can't be one of them crappy Browns fans. They're all the way up north.
Hold up, Kev. What the hell are you laughing for? Tell him what team we. Yeah, he's
Black
a
and yellow,
Steelers fan.
Black and yellow.
Oh my God! See, this is just
yeah. Luckily, we waited till the end. We told you at the very end, but
yes.
Hey, Nick,
perfect.
Last thing on the way out. I know you plugged the 74 barbecue. Is that the name of your sauce?
Yep.
That sounds like that's a project that you're passionate about right now. Is that something that's accessible everywhere? Where can our listeners access that?
So you can find it online, 74bbq.com, and we're trying to get out more. We're now in the Ace Hardware because with the selling of grills and everything, they're starting to get into the barbecue market. And so we're in their inventory system. The only trouble we have is trying to get the word out that they have to order it to be able to get it. So, we're trying to tell people, hey, go to your local Ace. If you know your manager there, tell them, hey, I want to order the sauce so you can get it in there. And so we're working on that. It's been kind of a work in progress trying to figure this whole thing out because we started back during COVID, and and now we had supply chain issues. We had people don't want to take on a small company for distribution and everything. So we're working our way through, but it's been a fun project. It's been a learning experience. It's a great way to share my passion, which is delicious food, with as many people as possible.
All right, Nick Mangold again, Dayton Zone, awesome enough to hang out with us again. First of all, that's awesome. We'll do our part and continue to remind people where they can get that, of course. But the Hall of Fame, Ohio State being inducted this upcoming fall. Have they told you what game yet? Do you have an idea of when you'll be close back or back at home?
Yeah, it's the Maryland game, October 7th, I believe. So I'm pretty excited about that. Looking forward to get back, get some Tommy's Pizza, maybe stop by Marion's Pizza in Dayton too. So just do a nice little tour for the weekend.
Nice. All right, sounds like a plan. Hey, Nick, thank you so much, sir. We beyond appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
No worries. Thank you very much.